pass. Mine is the sunlight, mine is the morning, born of the one light, Eden saw play. Praise with elation, praise every morning, God's recreation of the new day. Good morning. Please take a moment and greet your neighbors.
Eve laughed because she's sick.
Good morning. My name is Brenda Stein, and I am here to introduce to you the new chalice for our sanctuary. It's a special honor for me to have made this for our congregation because it was this place that nurtured, encouraged, and inspired me to become an artist. Sally Rutledge, thank you. Over 25 years ago, Sally Rutledge had an adult RE that helped me spark my creativity, and Joan Moore, my church mother, invited me to my very first art show here. And since then, I've enjoyed a very nice life as an artist. The wood is from another sanctuary in Nashville. It's from Warner Park, and it's a beautiful black walnut. And it's inscribed on the bottom, light, warmth, and fire, and it was made with love and gratitude. Thank you.
The words to the chalice lighting can be found in number 473 in your gray hymnal. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
Opening by Sue Eyre. Spirit of life and love, we have gathered here in search of answers to hard questions. We have come in search of understanding, in search of community. We have come in search of hope and healing. Let this be a place not only of searching, but of discovery. Let this be a place of learning and of wisdom. Let this be a place not only of meeting, but of connection. Let this be a place where healing fosters giving and hope fosters service. This is our prayer, that we may create here a circle of love, ever expanding, ever growing, as we seek to know you, the source of our being. Amen, and blessed be.
morning. Welcoming and membership here are kind of a team thing, and so in addition to Gail and myself, Jean Klein from the membership committee and Marguerite, who teaches our new member class, are going to come forward and help us welcome our new members. And also, I'd like to recognize Jonah Eller-Isaacs, who does a lot of welcoming work and membership behind the scenes. At this time, we are going to honor those who have made the decision to join our congregation, our community. Would our new members please come forward and join us on the platform? New members, we welcome you as once we were welcomed ourselves. We seek to be open and inclusive, respecting each other's inherent dignity, ideas, and vision, in times when it is easy and in times when it is difficult. We welcome you as an equal member of this congregation, of this faith, and of our shared spiritual journey. Now, everyone, please join in the new member covenant included in your order of service.
It is a joy to welcome you into our community of memory and hope. Each time we welcome a new member, we become something new. Or we evolve, depending. New members, will you walk together with us, sharing the joys and responsibilities of membership?
Yes.
Thank you.
Members of the First Unitarian Universalist Church of Nashville, will you welcome these new members into our congregation? Will you reach out to them in friendship, including them in our activities and fellowship? Will you be open to their unique gifts and perspectives? Will you extend a warm welcome to each of them, remembering that each one of us was once a new member?
Yes. We join our strengths, battles, and committed to yours. You are part of us, and we are part of you.
Becoming a member of this church is an important step, but it is only one of many steps that you have made and will make in the years ahead. So I charge you to continue growing in your faith. I charge you to find and share your special gifts with us. Ours is a shared ministry. Each of us has a crucial role to play, and you might know what it is and you might not at this point. We need you. We need your energy, your ideas, your open hearts. As you give generously of yourselves, we all grow as a beloved community.
And now we'll invite each one of you to sign the book. Elizabeth Lyserson. Go ahead and accept your gift, sorry. Ellen Mrazek. And Dan Slattery. Welcome to the First Unitarian Universalist Church of Nashville. I also want to take a moment to thank all of you, all of our members, for making this congregation feel welcome. Every time that you greet someone or give them directions or introduce yourself to a new person, you help to create this community. Thank you. We will now sing our youth out with the blessing on the inside back cover of our gray hymnal.
Good morning. My name is Catherine Caligiuri. I am a member of this congregation, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to worship this morning. Before I continue, please let me remind you to silence your cell phones. As Unitarian Universalists, our spiritual paths vary, but in this congregation, we have made a covenant together. We affirm our interdependence, celebrate our differences, and work for justice. We deepen our relationships as we create a compassionate, welcoming community, nurture spiritual growth, and act on our values in the broader world. I want to extend a special welcome to visitors worshiping with us this morning. We ask you to wear the paper name tags because it helps us to get to know you better. If you are seeking a spiritual home, we hope that you may find it here. Whether you are new to Unitarian Universalism or visiting from another UU congregation, we invite you to stop by the welcome table after the service to have your questions answered. People become members of this congregation by signing the membership book and supporting the church with their time and finances. If you are considering joining the church, please talk to our assistant minister, Holly Miller. Following the service, we hope everyone will enjoy coffee and fellowship in the social area, while you will also find information about the current opportunities for engagement and reflection. There are a number of announcements in the weekly bulletin, which I hope you will take home and read, and I have one additional. Our mid-year congregational meeting is today at 12:30 in the sanctuary. Please come to establish a quorum to vote on issues and certain leadership vacancies and hear presentations that apprise you of significant developments aimed at invigorating our church vibrancy. Please hear what the nominating committee, the worship committee, the finance committee, the identity team task force, the immigrant justice and sanctuary action team, and the endowment trust have to tell you about what's coming down the pike. Come learn about ordinations in the future and to celebrate the bestowing of the Joan and Joe Moore Award. Childcare will be provided. Thank you.
Let us finish arriving. Let us feel our feet on the floor. Gravity keeping us in our chairs. Let us find our breath. I invite you to remember this week the joys, the sorrows. Invite them back into yourself. Invite them to be a part of you and a part of your story. I invite you, if you are interested in sharing one of those joys and concerns, to light a candle at the front. And if you would like that joy or concern to be read out loud, you may do so by writing it on that piece of yellow paper in front of your pews. Our lay minister will help us this morning. of life and love, of warmth and community, be present with us now. Be with us in moments of joy and of mourning and grief. Be with us in moments of transition and change. Be with us as we travel and adjust and settle in. Spirit of life and love, be with us here, now. May it be so. We give to this congregation because we believe in the work of this church. To live in community, to live in covenant, and to live in justice. Our Share the Plate is this church's Habitat for Humanity team. Your gifts that allow our work to be sustainable will now be warmly received. Thank you.
be seated. Thank you.
Let us find our breath once more. Let us find our breath once more. I invite you to find a place in your body that feels like home. A place to which you return in moments of tension, grief, joy, community. I invite you to send your breath to that place. With each exhale, sending gratitude, love, warmth, a commitment. Thank it for its wisdom and for its presence and for its courage, and allow that place to receive when it is likely used to giving. Finding our breath once more. May it be so.
I'd like to invite a friend of our congregation, Annie Bacon, to join us. This song is making its world premiere today.
First part's when you notice walls surrounding everything. You wonder when they got there, but the answer changes nothing. In time you find the strength to say the word out loud. You tell one person as a test, you never tell it to a crowd. And then you cry it out. Then you cry it out. Above all, you gotta hold on to this little thing I tell. There's another chapter coming. There's a way out of the well. You can wait for the ropes to drop. You can wait for the will to climb. One of them will always come, given enough time. Nothing stays the same. I swear that on my grave. Third part's tricky, you can never tell when it's gonna come. The walls start getting shorter and you start to see the sun. Last part is a reckoning, this is where you need your friends. It's time to do the work to find out how this chapter ends. Then you cry it out. Then you cry it out. Above all, you gotta hold on to this little thing I tell. There's another chapter coming. There's a way out of the well. You can wait for the ropes to drop. You can wait for the will to climb. Thank you so much.
I am glad to be here in my son Scott's home church. Your hospitality and welcome have been all that I could have hoped for. I have several sermons available for congregations to choose from. Some are lighthearted, some informative, one is a call to action. Most were written prior to this one. Without knowing it, as I wrote it and presented the others, I appear to be laying the groundwork for this one. The full title, Exploring My Great Own Determination, Defining God and Goals en Route to Heaven. It is the one that is closest to my heart. It is the one that motivates me. My hope is that it will find its way into your heart and become a motor for your life as well. I'm going to look at 3 periods in my life and how religion played a part in shaping the who I am today. The God I worship and my goals, all a part of my journey toward heaven. Part 1, childhood abuse and God. Period 2, adolescence and rejection. Period 3, adulthood and redefinition. Period 4 will be about you. Science is yet to resolve the nurture versus nature controversy. I believe that we are born with the skills of essential living, the ability and skills of esteem, instinct, decision-making, trust, communication, and bonding, and so I lean toward nature. Through nurturance, or the lack thereof, we lose those skills early in childhood, and that's a discussion, though, for another day. What I am not yet sure of is whether or not our personality traits are first formed by nature or nurture. I know that they can be changed by environment. It is common knowledge among those who work with people who have experienced trauma that a child who began as outgoing and fearless can become reclusive and fright-filled. One who is an underachiever may, as a result of trauma, become driven to prove him or herself. Period 1. It is a question that may not have great significance in the worldly scheme of things, but one I wonder about. I spoke and sang on stage at Bethel African Methodist Episcopal Church for the first time at the age of 3. I can remember clearly needing to present myself to the audience and receive feedback, oohs and ahs and applause from them. Given where I'm standing now, not much has changed, has it? What I don't know is, was that need, that drive, caused by nature or by a lack of nurturance? I know that I was sexually and emotionally abused by the age of 3. I just don't know which came first. I do know that the drive to be recognized and appreciated, to be good and to do good, have from that point forward been a focus of my life, creating layers and years of confusion and pain, as well as clarity and peace. My time with you today will look at some of those layers and cover many years. My movement from committed believer to desperate searcher to open skeptic. Within those layers are more layers. Traditional Christian to boomerang atheist to angry agnostic to newly UU and finally to mature Unitarian Universalist. The years will start with 1952 and span to the present day. This day, a day I will lay myself open for scrutiny and ask for a commitment of the same from you. We have begun. I continued to sing at church as both a soloist and choir. I was in every pageant held. As I grew older, I taught younger students in Sunday school, and I was a junior usher. My appetite was never fully satisfied. My thirst never quenched. My abuse continued throughout my childhood. Sexual abuse first by my maternal grandfather and later by my stepfather. Emotional abuse from my maternal grandmother and from my mother. Abandonment by my father. I long ago healed and came to terms with my abuse and forgave those where appropriate. But as a child, that was years in the future. I don't know how widely spread this precept is, but in the AME church of my youth, it was commonly believed and regularly affirmed that God puts no more on you than you can bear. I believed. I believed in the minister, the church, the members, in God, in Jesus. In 1965, when I was 15, my grandmother died. I experienced an uncontrollable grief that even then I knew was totally out of proportion to the strained relationship I had maintained with her. I was overwhelmed with a sense of failure, and I knew that I could bear no more. The sexual abuse at the hands of my stepfather, the criticism and lack of protection from my mother, the failure of my father to contact or protect me. I also knew it couldn't be God's fault. It had to be mine. After all, God puts no more on you than you can bear, and I could bear no more. Suicide seemed the only way out. I awoke in the hospital to find that I had failed, even at that. Enter period 2. I looked at the church in a new way. I saw the backbiting, the fear that if one didn't attend on a Sunday, they were the subject of gossip, that no one questioned or sympathized with my short-term hospitalization. I wanted out, but my mother refused to allow me to leave the church. I struggled through until 1967, age 18, and graduation from high school. The Sunday following, I went to the nearest Catholic church and became a convert. I sought the structure and support that I heard they offered, the safety and logic that had been missing in my home. That lasted only until 1971. As a young, single, working mother and student, I wanted to talk with my priest about birth control, not to argue or convince, just to find a way to feel at peace and follow the church doctrine. I feared that a second pregnancy would doom my son and me to a life of poverty. Father Rapp refused. His only comments were that he could make no comments other than that birth control was a sin and against church teachings. Once again, I felt at odds with church, religion, and God. I visited other churches, studied other religions, and at each one I found myself being required to believe all in order to be accepted. Remember, acceptance was something that I had craved since early childhood, but I could not trade my soul for acceptance. I believed that there could be no God so cruel as to create the predicament I was in. Church and religion were man-made. God was man-made, and I wanted nothing to do with any of them, church, religion, or God. Moving to 29 years of age, For my own peace of mind and to create a place in the world that I could live in, I decided to redefine Christianity. I believed and continue to that Jesus was a man of conscience and moral resolve, who did good where he could without judgment of others. I did not believe he was the Son of God, for God did not exist. I decided that I could follow the same path of good and began to look for a way to make the world a better place. As much as I like to believe that fate doesn't exist, too often things happen at the right time in the right way that can't be written off as just random. I read an ad in the newspaper seeking young single women to become involved in a newly created program as foster parents to young teen parents. The Department of Human Services had found that older, traditional, married parents, foster parents, couldn't relate to the teen mothers. They couldn't get past their moral reservations. I became a foster parent as my way to try and change the world in one small way. I was a foster parent to just under a dozen children during my years as a foster. I was truly living my Christianity without setting foot in a church, believing in religion, or worshiping a God. In steps that thing called fate again, and we enter period 3. As an investigator with the Kentucky Commission on Human Rights, I traveled extensively throughout Kentucky. On one trip, driving east early one morning, I crested a hill, and the vista and the beauty before me was overwhelming. Tears threatened to blind me as I drove. At that moment, I knew I could not define there was a God. There was a being, an entity that had created the earth. But like my family, who knew how to provide a beautiful and comfortable home, had no clue how to treat the people who inhabited that home. The entity that created was not a God of love. Years later, as a director of our UU Children's Choir, I had them sing "Take Me Home, Country Road" by John Denver, the song we sang earlier. When I told a friend what I planned, she said, "That's not a church song. It's not religious." My response to her was, if you believe in God, how can you say that a song of the beauty he created isn't religious? Being an atheist is not an easy life that most people believe it is. There are those who think that being an atheist or agnostic is taking the easy way out. It's not. Just imagine how hard it is not to have some higher power to pray to call upon in times of strife, or to praise during good times. Everyone needs to believe. Consider living a moral life without an external God, without an external set of rules such as the 10 Commandments, the Bible, and Quran. And yet I did and continued to. When belief in God is gone, there must be a substitute. That had often been difficult for me as an atheist. No longer. As an agnostic, I knew what I could do and say. In the car that day, I created my own God and my own prayer. I told the entity of creation that I would not call on him and that he should not expect anything from me. My God would be my great own determination. My faith would be me, my faith in me, my failures my own, my accomplishments a result of my own great determination and hard work. I felt peace for the first time in years, perhaps for the first time in my life. One reason for church is as a gathering place where people of like ideas can come together for many purposes, to celebrate, to laugh, to cry. Yet every religion I looked into required that to do those things, I must believe that all of the things they believed, and I would not accept that. In the late 70s, a friend at my job and I would occasionally talk about church and religion. I spoke of how I missed the opportunity to be with people. She spoke of how her church was different. For 3 years, these casual conversations occurred sporadically. An important comment here, a commercial, if you will. We as UUs really must be less casual about our beliefs in our church. We must learn to speak up and share. And now back to our program. Period 3. In 1979, when I was deeply depressed and knew I had to break my isolation, I asked her when and where her church met. And so on Sunday in March 1979, my 2 sons and I arrived at First Unitarian Universalist Church in Louisville, Kentucky. We were greeted warmly, the sermon was interesting, I don't remember what it was about, and the coffee hour and the people were friendly. I had sent my sons without me to church every Sunday for years. There were always churches that would send their van or buses to pick them up, until they refused to go. After this service, they asked me if we were going back. They'd liked it. Funny, I wanted to return too. We went back for 2 more services, and I began to worry. I made an appointment with the minister, Bob, and asked to talk. What, I told him, will happen when people find out I'm an agnostic and not open to change? He said the true believer on your left will take one hand and the atheist on your right will take the other, and they will both say, welcome. We became regular visitors. When a month later, I heard people saying goodbye for the summer, see you in September, and I was informed that UUs didn't meet in the summer. You all remember that, right? We didn't used to meet in the summer. I knew I had found my church home. I attended regularly, volunteered, and became active. What I didn't do was join. I had been down that road before, and I wasn't going again, no matter how comfortable I felt, and I didn't see any reason to join. Skip ahead to September. I had bought a house, then I lost my job. I totaled my car, had a mess called home renovation, and had a break-in where they even stole my washing machine with wet clothes in it. I was depressed to the point of suicide ideation for the first time in years. It would have been so easy to isolate myself as I had in the past, but attending church and continuing to spend time with the people I knew there and outside of church kept me going. With money as tight as it was, I told my boys that Christmas would be lean that year. No decorations, the house was a mess. Christmas Day would be a movie and dinner. I couldn't pay Santa for a visit on Christmas Eve, so I would give them each $25 the day after Christmas. And with prices marked down, they could get lots of what they really wanted. We went to Christmas Eve service at First Church. After service, 2 families came to me and offered us a ride home. Remember, my car had been totaled, and we were riding the bus everywhere we went. They said they had a few things to drop off. When we arrived home, they brought in a tree, decorations, dinner, and presents. We ate spaghetti and salad and decorated the tree. My boys had shared what we were doing for Christmas with their friends, and the parents knew what that meant. They didn't ask me what I needed. They just acted. If they had asked, I would have said, everything's fine. I joined the church the next Sunday. UU became, for me, a church with people who were not paving their way to heaven, but making heaven here on earth. Now, today. Not asking what is needed, but recognizing a need and acting upon it. In October of 2011, I began a move driving from Washington State to Tampa, Florida. I had a medical emergency. Waking up on an airplane where I was being airlifted, I was told that I would be arriving soon at our destination. When I awoke again, I found that I was in Salt Lake City, Utah University Hospital Intensive Neural Care Unit. My carotid artery had exploded, shot blood onto my brain, and then dissected itself. When I was asked who I wanted them to call, I had them call my best friend so she could call my children. The second call I had them make was to my minister in Washington to ask her to contact the church in Salt Lake City. The minister from the Salt Lake City UU Church came to visit that day. Members came every day of my hospitalization to keep me company, to bring me glasses, to bring me clothing, because everything I had was back in Nevada. People have asked me, why would you have called the church? I never would have thought of that. For me, I never would have not thought of that. We are a member of a denomination not confined to the walls of a building. Remember that you are a UU wherever you are, and there are UUs who will be there for you. So we come to today, period 4, and your part in this sermon. I'm here to inform you of a need, and as a UU congregation and as individuals who believe in UU principles, I expect you to act upon it. Have you noticed that I do believe in a God? My great own determination, the first letters of those words, is my God. We each, through our own determination, can exhibit the God-like Jesus principles that religion so often preaches but fails to act on. I don't call on a God outside of myself. I am calling on each of you today as we enter the action part of the sermon to call on yourself. I've covered all the points I set out to. I have spoken of my great own determination and how I use that to define God. I've outlined the broad form of my goals to create heaven here on earth. I lived my hell during my childhood, as so many children do, and I have expected to make my heaven here while I am alive and can enjoy it, by changing the world in whatever small or large way that I can. The route to heaven lies here and now. And so I come to the end. If we were today in a black AME church, now would be the come to the altar. Instead, I'm going to issue a call to action by closing with 3 final points. 1, act with family, both your inner child and your outer children, as a focus. My experience as a birth parent, adoptive parent, grand and great-grandparent, and foster parent was happy, sad, hard, easy, rewarding, discouraging, and great. I knew that my goal was to plant a seed, even though I might not be there when the seed grew. It would at least grow if it's planted. Seeing the looks on faces of children as they enjoy a new experience, watching them develop new skills to take with them as they venture on. First, make time for yourself. You cannot help when you're on empty. Then make time for your children. Schedule it. Put it on your calendar. Your time and your time with the kids as you schedule your business, your doctor, and your dental appointments. 2, act with Unitarian Universalism as a focus. My experience as a UU has been to serve on boards and actively work on committees, to lead a junior choir, for children truly are our future. I don't want the Shakers religious community experience to become our own. I have coordinated Sunday morning communion providers, which translates into coffee hour. It amazes me that we don't always want to help, but we always want our coffee. There are many ways you can answer a call to action here in your fellowship. 3, act with your community as a focus. A couple in my former community opened a barbecue restaurant with the express purpose of using the proceeds to provide a free community dinner the last 5 days of every month. No forms to fill out, no documentation of income or need, just come and share a meal. I would volunteer there at least 2 days each month, helping with food prep or serving or cleaning up. I have in the past led Girl Scout troops and volunteered with other organizations. Find the volunteer activity that can become your interest or passion. Act on our second principle of justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. Invite people to church. Encourage people to volunteer. Encourage people to vote. Heaven and hell really are experienced here on earth. Hell is created through our inactions, our thoughtless or negative actions. Heaven is created and enjoyed through our actions. Use your great own determination. Act with family as a focus. Act with Unitarian Universalism as a focus. Act with your community and the people who comprise it as a focus. Thank you for your attention today. Perhaps my whole talk today could have been summed up in one sentence from Anne Frank that I value deeply. How wonderful it is that nobody has to wait a single moment before starting to improve the world. Let today be your moment.
it seems the chalice has decided to extinguish itself today, but let us continue to read the extinguishing, which can be found at the bottom of your order of service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
My words of closing to you. The world changes only as we change ourselves and our world. Take the thoughts and words of the day, plan your goals, and take action. We are only as alone as we choose to be, only as impotent as we allow. Blessed be, and as you take peace with you, please take action.